Hey out there folks, it's Dave here from Davestation VR, and I'm back with another review. This time we've got TrainerVR, which is a new PSVR game that just came out, and it's not a fitness simulator, although I could probably use one. Beat Saber's good enough for now. But it is a train set construction sandbox, so everybody knows train sets, from when you were younger, or adults still make train sets, it's a very widely held pastime. And this is the first time I've seen it in VR, and it's a pretty cool concept, so let's get into it. So the implementation here is pretty straightforward as far as the concept goes. You've got your menu from which you pick various train pieces, train track pieces. You've got bridges, you've got ramps, you've got all kinds of background stuff like animals and people and buildings and hot air balloons and stuff. And you can actually set up some cool little logic interactions where like a train will go over a button that triggers something somewhere else, which brings me almost immediately to the dynamite. This game's got TNT in it, and you can blow everything, which is a pretty entertaining thing to do. So you've built this incredible track, and it's designed so that when your train goes over the end of it or a certain part, people go flying, cows go flying, buildings flip over in the air. It's pretty cool, and it's physics-based, so you get some pretty interesting reactions when you hit stuff with dynamite. And it's a real selling point of the game. Honestly, I would suggest that if you do pick this up, mess with the TNT. You're not seeing the whole game if you don't blow up your own stuff, but save it first. Always gotta save it first. TrainerVR can be played either with the DualShock 4, or 2 Move controllers, or even just 1 Move controller if for some reason you don't have a second one. You just have one laying around. Those are all options, and they come with their own benefits and drawbacks. The DualShock 4 is nice because you can actually move freely around the environment. It's still click turning, but you can walk forward and backwards and kind of get a better angle on stuff. But the way the light bar tracking works is that it's really difficult to like flip a piece around and like angle it the way that you want it to for the proper placement. So the moves come in a lot better there, and they work really well for the creation aspect. It just sucks because you're tied to click turning and teleportation. And so it's sort of like there's a lot of buttons that are mapped in a way that I feel like they could have mapped better to make it so you could still walk around the stage and you weren't accidentally hitting the wrong button all the time, because that was happening to me. So both implementations, Move and DualShock 4, are a little funky, but I would say overall I prefer the moves. So the game gives you 2 different environments to build in, one of which is sort of just like a blank slate. Everything is white. There's nothing there, although you can add your own terrain like mountains and hills and stuff like that using the tools. But the other one is this like Wild West kind of canyon theme that's really cool. There's a lake, there's a waterfall, all kinds of stuff like that. But that one's a little bit tougher to build on because it requires you to use like multi-level tracks, which is kind of difficult to get the hang of. There's no tutorial or any kind of like training missions here, so you sort of just got to figure it out yourself. And I found that it was pretty difficult to build like elevated structures that went over terrain, just because the way the girder system works and the way stuff doesn't really always snap the way you want it to, and the fact that it's physics-based, so if it's not 100% supported, it'll just fall over and you got to pick it up and try it again. So that's sort of like a hard mode for creation almost, but it's a really cool backdrop, and I'm glad that they had something beyond just that standard kind of white background for the default stage. As far as the variety of options you have to choose from in your toolbox, I felt like it was a little bit on the light side, especially as far as the trains themselves go. People who are actually into building train sets, the train itself is an important part of the puzzle. And so there are no like historically accurate 50 trains to choose from, anything like that. It's pretty much just 2 trains. They're pretty standard, kind of bland. So if you're looking to build your perfect geeky train world in VR, it's not going to cut it. But as far as building interesting tracks, there's enough there with the pieces they have to do something cool. As far as graphics go, you can't expect anything mind-blowing from a game like TrainerVR. It's a small development team, and it's all really simple, but it looks good. It looks like an old train set, so it gets the job done pretty well. And like I said, I did really like the look of that Wild West stage. So overall, no complaints as far as graphics go. The sound, it does have the most close approximation of the Charlie Brown Christmas song that I've ever heard, like to the point of almost copyright infringement. Overall, despite some issues I had with the tracking and the control method and the lack of a tutorial and various stuff like that, I do think this is a fun little playset if you're interested in, building model trains and stuff like that. And for 15 bucks, you can't go wrong if that's your thing. Now, if you're not really already into this, you might want to wait for a sale probably, but it's still a decent little package. It's just a little bit rough around the edges, and the developers seem like they're open to feedback, so hopefully they'll take this and make some patches, fix it up a little bit, add some different movement schemes for the Move controllers, and I think this could be a cool little game. So if it sounds like something you'd be into, give it a look, and otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching. I will catch you later on.